I have in Washington, D.C., and the time that I spent with President Trump, and I'm one of those guys who, when you think about it, spent all 4 years. There was only 4 of us who lasted 4 years at the senior level as assistants to the president. 2 of them I don't count because one was Jared Kushner, his son-in-law, and the other was Ivanka, so I don't count them. It was me and Stephen Miller were the last 4 that made it all through the president. Yeah, I agree. We intend to. Yeah. But when you look at what's happening in the nation today, when you look at what's happening with inflation, or you look at what's happening with immigration, or you see what's happening with national security, we are starting to lose this nation, and we need to fight back and regain what this nation stood for and what it believes in. And the Democrats keep pushing it on the Republicans, saying we're at fault. No. 2 years ago, think about it. Where was the inflation level? Where was the price of gas? Were the borders secure? The answer is yes on that. When you saw the international security, had Putin invaded Ukraine? No, he had not. Had Kim Jong-un in North Korea stopped shooting missiles? The answer is yes, he had. And when you look at the famous Rocket Man story, and when you look at everything internationally, I look at the current president and I say, look, and I'm saying this is all part of public record. This is a guy who, to me, when Osama bin Laden, and I was in the Pentagon on 9/11, as I said, this is the guy, when the decision was being made in the Situation Room of the White House to go on the attack and kill Osama bin Laden by SEAL Team 6, he voted no. Public record. When you look at him spending 8 years in as the Vice President of the United States, when we lost thousands of soldiers in Iraq and Afghanistan, those soldiers who were brought home in a dignified transfer, in the transfer case, and those soldiers and sailors, airmen, Marines, men and women, were moved to the mortuary. Senior officials go there. They pay respect because these were soldiers of America. 8 years. Public record. He went one time. We did not miss a single dignified transfer under Vice President Pence or President Trump. We always made it up to Dover, Delaware. And it tore my guts up every time I went there. And the reason is that I knew what we were walking into. When you walk in and you saw these families. These are the families, when they talk about their sons or their daughters or their husbands and even their wives, they talked about them and you stood there and you just realized what great Americans they were. And I think it's incredibly important that you recognize their valor and their heroism. That was done. When you look at President Biden, this is the man who former Secretary of Defense, Secretary Gates, who also was director of the CIA, said has been nearly wrong on every national security event in the last 4 years. That's public record. That was before Afghanistan. And you can add Afghanistan to that as well. His own president, Joe Biden, said to him, you can never underestimate Joe's ability to screw something up. Okay? So put that in your mind as you go forward. This is the person who's the commander-in-chief. And here's why that's important. It's important because the power of the United States is really generated by one person. Because he is the one who generates the will of our nation, and that is the President of the United States. Under the Constitution, Section 2, Article 2, Section 2, he is the Commander-in-Chief. And everything that emanates from that office, the Oval Office, comes out of the President. You saw what happened in Afghanistan. You saw the public record that's come out. Even Frank McKenzie, the general who was on TV just 2 weeks ago, said, we had a plan. It wasn't a great plan, no plans are ever great, but we had a plan to get out of there correctly. And President Trump talked to the Taliban directly. He talked to Omar, who was the Omar Barada, who was the chief negotiator for the Taliban. I happened to be in the Oval Office when he talked to him. And when he was talking to him, I kept thinking to myself, how is this being translated? Because he was very forceful. He told him, I know where you live and I'm going to come after you if something happens. From the year of that agreement to the time we left office, not a single American was killed in Afghanistan. Not one. President Biden was able to lose 13 Americans in one day within 1 year of his office tenure. So this is what you're fighting against at the presidential level. But it's also at the state and local level. Look what's happened to your school boards out there. At least the fight we're carrying forward on that. Look at what's happening in Congress out there. And the Congresswoman was right. Lisa was right. They're throwing money in. And it's, you know whose money it is? It's your money. It's my money. And we have to put a stop to that because there's no transparency to it. When you look what's happening in Ukraine, and I believe deeply in what the Ukrainians are doing and fighting for their freedom, but they were also throwing a lot of money at it, and nobody's recording where it's going, so we have no idea. I can tell that for a fact as well. So there's a lot of things happening in the nation. How you put a stop to that is right out here, all of you, the citizens of the United States, saying to their representatives, this is who we want in office as our representatives to go forward and protect this nation. So I think I would tell you, you've got to carry the fight hard. Don't back away from your opponents. Keep pushing hard on your opponents. There's a lot of hope out there. We're going to flip the House back. Knock on wood on that one. And I'm a big believer that we're probably going to take the Senate as well. Now, I've got some favorites out there in their dark horses. But here's an example of how the Democrats are doing it. Up in the great state of Washington, Tiffany Smiley. She's running for Senate. Her husband is a blind officer who was blinded by an IED. She's a care nurse, for disabled. She's now trying to go against Patty Murray, who is a 6-term senator. Patty Murray will not debate her. Give me a break. You've been a senator for 6 terms, for 36 years, and you won't debate somebody who is running for office against you. That's what Democrats do. Democrats hide in the basement. I guarantee you that's true, because in the last election I was with President Trump, and we saw that happening every day, and we knew what their tactics were, and they fooled America. Don't let them fool you. Keep fighting for the governor, hopefully be the governor-elect, when you got out there. He's dynamite. Had a chance to talk to Tudor yesterday. Back your representatives financially, emotionally, every step of the way. Don't give any quarter to anybody out there, because we can win this fight. We can bring America back the way it was. I strongly believe that. And we can return it to its status, as President Reagan said, that bright, shining city on a hill. Thanks for being here tonight. Appreciate it. God bless you all.